know in part and we prophesy in part. He's saying even your spiritual gift, you don't know everything. So you're only operating according to what truth you believe. You can only prophesy in part because you don't know all of God's will. So even if you're operating in spiritual gift, it's still in part, right? But when that which is perfect has come, that which is in part will be done away with. When I really get to see God for real for who he is, and I get totally sanctified, and I'm totally transformed, when I see him and be like him, then I will no longer need to prophesy in part because I'll understand his total will for me and everything else, right? But until then, I'm seeing in part, right? Verse 11, and we always read this. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. In other words, I'm operating in part. I see life through a distorted lens. And as God matures me more, it gets clearer. As I grow more like God, I start saying, that's not really true. But now, so when I'm looking at you and I'm saying things like, I remember, I think it was Elder Scruggs, years ago, he had an issue with men wearing hats inside. Oh my God. When did you, Elder Scruggs? Yeah, oh my God. And he was like, disrespecting the house, wearing a hat inside the house. And I was like, people wear baseball caps, Elder. Don't make no sense. Look, Elder Steve took off his hat just then. You see that? He was sitting beside me. He took off his hat like, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know. So Elder Scruggs looked down upon every man who walked in the house or inside with a hat. You know. Now here's the deal. That could have been military background. Because in military background, you take off your hat when you're inside. It could be a lot of things, right? So we're not talking about it's not intentionally evil. It's just was one of his things, right? Right. And so could you imagine some people you are offended by is really because it's just one of your things. It ain't truth. It's just truth to you. So he said this. He said, when I was a child. So Paul is saying this, that I spent all these years learning about how to be righteous. And I spent all these years learning the Jewish custom on how to work for salvation. But now that I've seen Christ, I understand that all that stuff I was saying don't mean nothing. Paul said, I was born in the tribe of Benjamin. He says, a Pharisee above all. He said, went to the best schools. He said, circumcised on the 8th day. Pharisee of Pharisees, knew all the rules. I learned everything and everything else. So all his life, for 30 some odd years of his life, he is operating according to those rules, right? So that was his truth, right? So he said, but that was my truth because I was a child. I was immature. He's not talking about a child in terms of little. That's how we say this. But it's really in terms of maturity. So that means there are some truths that you believe that you're just not mature enough yet. There's some thoughts you have, right? It says, so when I was a child, get this, saints of God, he says, I spoke as a child, laleo, which means I use words in order to declare what's on the inside of me and disclose my thoughts. So my whole thinking and all of my arguing right now is based upon my 55 years of truth. Now, when I'm 65, I'm going to look at y'all and say, you remember when I say the 55? That's trash. Because I know more about me, more about people, more about God. I'm so sorry. Throw those messages away. I argued it for years. It ain't really that serious. This is serious, but this ain't. I thought this wasn't serious, but it is serious. I thought this was serious, but it's not serious. So that means this, and the word laleo comes from the word, it's a derivative of the word legion. A legion was a group of 6,000 Roman soldiers and 100 members of the cavalry, plus any supporting military that they needed. So when you talk about a legion in terms of Rome, you talk about 6,120 men at least. That was a legion, right? Remember when Jesus gets out of the boat in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he crosses over, and he's walking through the graveyard, and the demonic man runs into him, and the demons speak through the man, and Jesus asks a question. He says, "Who are you?" And he says, "We are legion, for we are many." That means this: when you talk about laleo, what you mean is you got 6,000 voices in your head that's telling you this right. That's telling you that not fixing your bed is nasty. And so you talking about what you hear. Now, what happens if my thoughts are off? What happens if I'm not thinking right? What happens if I'm having a mental illness? I'm still going to be talking, but it's distorted. Am I making sense? Just because you arguing with me don't make it right. Just because you're passionate about it don't make it right. I remember I had one of my kids. He knew how to cry on cue, trying to make a point, and still lying. I did do my homework. I don't know why you don't trust me. You don't believe in me. I'm just like, I feel like I'm just thrown away. I'm just a child you don't believe in. I don't understand why. Just lying. But could cry. And my wife be like, oh, he mean it. He means it. And I say, he lying. I don't care about no tears. He lying. So here's the deal. So now, in your immaturity or your imbalanced state or your ill state, you can be arguing some things with all the voices in your mind, and you're arguing. I don't care what you say. Blah, 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 blah. And you can still be off because you're only looking through a partial view. Am I making sense? See, now this is hard because remember, you got 6,000 voices telling you why this is right. And they are speaking to you and defending their position. And they're telling you that their position is your position. And your position is the right position. So Paul was arguing, this is what salvation is like. And he meant it to the point where he had people killed. Think about it. Saul was like, take this woman out of her house. Take this man out of our house. Take these parents from these children. And now beat them and maim them and make them say that Caesar is Lord. And I am protecting the church. And he meant that. And he was wrong. So just because you're passionate about it, don't make it right. I'm making sense. Just because it makes sense to you, don't make it right. I'm going to give you a hint. So when you find out something is wrong, let me help you with this. When somebody tells you it's wrong, stop defending why you made the decision. I got 3 hand claps. This will help you. When they say it's wrong, stop saying, but you don't understand why I did it. That's legion talking. Now, because you can't grow. You can't change because you're defending now and reinforcing a poor decision. And you got to be able to say, no, I'm not going to, let me be quiet and listen because I got a chance to grow right now. Not defend and tell you, wait, before you go off. Let me tell you why I made a decision that put us in bankruptcy. I'm really not interested in this conversation because we're in bankruptcy now. But I'm going to tell you why I made the decision. No. Am I making sense? So young adult, understand that Legion is talking to you, and that older adult got some more experience, has more experience than you. Yes, sir. Old adult, remember Legion is talking to you, and the scripture got more experience than you. Yeah. It says, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. Phroneo. So based upon what I'm hearing in my head, I said, I think that makes sense. You have the same views. You come to a conclusion. You say, yeah. That. Not fixing the bed is nasty. You walked out of your room, left that cover and them sheets peeled back, wrinkled, thrown everywhere, the pillows all crooked, nothing fluffed up, and you got out of the bed with your nasty self and left that whole thing just open all day. It makes sense. To me, it just don't make no sense. I'm making sense. So, and then says, I understood as a child. So now, notice, my problem is what I speak. My problem is what I understand. And then that leads to my thoughts. I hear the voices. It makes sense to me. And so I logizomai. I made a correction here, but logizomai shouldn't be to render idle. That's the next one. We left it off here. Logizomai, this right here, thought, logizomai, which means logic. I came to a logical conclusion that this is right. So Paul says, I thought, I spoke, I understood, I thought. Remember, so could you imagine, Richard, could you imagine, Deacon, you are coming to logical conclusions while being emotionally disturbed. You're coming to logical conclusions while dealing with mental illness. And you are having a logical conclusion about your partner with mental illness while you're emotionally disturbed. And you're like, this don't make no sense. And so it says this. So Paul says, he says, so what do I do when I speak? What I do when I understand? How do I challenge myself, Dr. Moody? And I think wrong. He says, when I became a man, genomai, which means to change and become something you've never been before, I put away childish things. That word put away there literally it literally means to render idle, to make unemployed, to make inactive. To put away literally means this in the Greek. It means to no longer have intercourse with. So when I put away a thought, that means I no longer are intimate with the thought so that it produces things in my life. Does that make sense? So now, because as long as I keep thinking this, it's going to keep producing the stuff. And you gotta understand this. And this is the hard part about many of us when it comes to mental illness and being emotionally disturbed. We keep processing the same information. So it makes all the sense to us in the world. So I'm gonna keep doing it. You keep dating the same person. It's just they taller or shorter. But you dating the same person. You crazy just like my last one. Yeah. But wait a minute. The common denominator, though, is you. So if all of your dating partners are crazy, off, tripping, that means it's not them. It's really you. You like that roller coaster ride. You like calling 911 at 2 o'clock in the morning. You enjoy that. You enjoy the Friday night fright. And it gets to the point where the police officers know your address, they know your name. They go, hey, Tyrone. What happened tonight? You understand, man. You understand. She crazy, man. She crazy. That girl crazy. Yeah, Tyrone, I know she crazy. I know she crazy. What she do? She threw a brick. See it, man? She threw a brick, but I bust my stuff, messed my stuff up. She crazy, man. She crazy. I know Tyrone. Tyrone, what do you want us to do? Are we gonna press charges? No. We're gonna take her to jail. No. You can't take her to jail. I love her. Next Friday, we'll be right back here. Am I making sense? So now, so how do we deal with distorted lenses? Philippians 3 and 13. So this is where we gotta say. Remember, now with your chemical imbalance, we're gonna need some more help. But with my thoughts now, Philippians 3 says, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting. I've got to forget. That means and it's given in a middle voice in Greek, which means you do this and it benefits you. All right. So God's not going to make you forget. You've got to choose. I'm not going to remember this kind of thinking and this logic that keeps getting me here. And I'm going to be the beneficiary. So it says this. So it says, thank you, sir. So it says, I forget those things. That means I neglect them. That means you got to tell those thoughts, those voices, and those conclusions, not today. Not today. Nope. I'm going to do something totally different. And that means I'm going to be uncomfortable by doing things that are different. Because it doesn't feel right, just like the manic. It don't feel right to be right. So making a good decision feels bad. Forgetting it means I've got to be willing to go through whatever emotional steps I got to go through to tie myself to this alternative decision, this alternative way of thinking, and stick to it. Because if I don't stick to it, I'm going to be right back, if not worse. But I've got to stick to it. And I got to know, man, this feels crazy. This feels weird. I don't feel right. I feel uncomfortable. I feel like my life is like, I don't know what to do. I feel so uncomfortable in this sane environment. What? Y'all happy? People smiling. It's Friday night at 9 o'clock and we ain't drunk yet. So what do y'all do when y'all not drunk? And you're like, what? Let's go see a movie. A movie? Let's play Uno. Uno? Well, the way we play it is every time you Uno, you gotta take a shot. And then you end up in Friday night fight again. That's how we play Uno. Uno! Everybody, And then 30 minutes later, the police coming. So forgetting those things that are behind me, that means I gotta give over to oblivion. And pressing toward the mark or pressing toward the goal. That word pressing also is in the middle voice, which means if I forget, it benefits me. If I press, it benefits me. If I don't, it impacts me. So look at your neighbor and say, it's all on you. It's all on you. So that means to reach out or to stretch out toward. That means I've got to start thinking different. Now understand this. I'm gonna tap into a very controversial moment for just a second. Understand this. So just because you say I want to, now I'm with a man, tomorrow I'm gonna be with a woman, that ain't different. It's the same person. All of them controlling. That's right. Yeah. You sleeping with him, sin is still sin. Sin. Don't matter. So whether it's Leroy or Leona, because you're not straight by A-Q-T, no. You got to make up your mind, pick one. Every 6 months, we can't be changing your letters, changing your pronoun, when it's really the same person. Because you haven't forgot. Am I making sense? See, it's tough. It's tough. Am I making sense?
Thank you for worshiping with us today. If you liked this message, you can find the rest at cmllcstore.com. We invite you to join us again for our extraordinary worship services every Sunday at 10:30 a.m., Sundays at 4 p.m., and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central, where Dr. Moody teaches how to understand the Bible, and you can get all your biblical questions answered. We look forward to connecting with you. We ask that you subscribe to The Rock ATX on YouTube and follow The Rock ATX on Facebook and Instagram to stay connected to all The Rock is doing. You can also get connected on our website at therockatx.org. Again, thank you for worshiping with us, and be blessed.